Hi guys, I'm going to go through page 25. This is just a review of simplifying a radical. Um, Many of you did this at the end of 8th grade and also at the beginning of this course. So I'm going to review this. And again, this page is optional. If you remember how to do this, great. If you don't, I did type some directions and it says, locate the largest perfect square that is a factor of your number. You can use your calculator to help you with this. If you take the number under the radical sign, which is called the radicand, and you put it in your y sub 1. So like in your y sub 1, you would do 18 divided by x, and that shows you factors of 18. Now, you're looking for the largest perfect square factor. So I've got 1 and 18, which is cool. 1 is a perfect square, but 1 is just not going to be useful in this situation. And then the next one I have is 2 and 9. And 9 is helpful because that is a perfect square. So what I do is I rewrite this as radical 9 times radical 2. I put the perfect square first because that's what's going to become the coefficient once I simplify it. And that gives me 3 radical 2. Now, during the quadratic unit, you usually put plus or minus 3 radical 2. These questions are not in a unit, they're just simplifying, so it's okay to put just the positive one, unless, as you see in the next situation, there is a coefficient. Okay? So the negative 4 is the coefficient, and I'm going to break 98 up into 49 times 2. I chose 49 because 49 is a perfect square. That gives me negative 4 times 7 radical 2. That gives me a final answer of negative 28 radical 2. And you can check this as you're going through it. You can use your calculator, and what you would be looking for is equivalent decimals. So if I type in the calculate part of my calculator, I don't know what that means, but I think you guys get me it by now. If you type in negative 4 radical or square root 98, you're going to get a decimal. And then if you type in negative 28 radical 2, you should get the same decimal. And that's how you check for equivalence. Okay, so number 3, negative 3/4, that's a coefficient, and 48, I'm going to use 16 and 3. So the square root of 16 is 4, so that gives me negative 3/4 times 4 radical 3. So my final answer is negative 3 radical 3. Okay, this is called simplifying square roots. You'll see this in directions of things when it says answer in simplest radical form. All right, so I have a half, and I'm going to break 12 into 4 and 3. Now remember, you're always looking for a perfect square. So yes, I totally agree with you. 6 and 2 does multiply to become 12, but 6 doesn't help, 2 doesn't help, so 4. 4 is a helper. Gotta like that 4. All right, so you got half times 2 times radical 3. Half of 2 is 1, so put the 1, don't put the 1, it doesn't matter. Okay? All right, the 2 radical 50. I'm going to break that down into 25 and 2. 25 times 5 radical 2, so 10 radical 2. And again, this is called simplifying a radical. Now, all of these answers are what we call irrational. So if you think back, I know you've heard the word irrational before, but in the beginning of the school year, we did a whole unit on real numbers. And like real numbers is this really big group of numbers. And we use real numbers for like 99.9% of all the math we do. We are going to come into what's called imaginary numbers actually pretty soon. And that's when there is a negative number under that radical. Super weird, right? Because how many times have I said a negative times a negative is a positive times a positive is a positive? So how the heck? How does that happen? That's why it's called a imaginary number. Because you're not going to multiply any real numbers and get a negative square. Like it just doesn't happen. Okay, so but these are irrational, and they're called irrational because they're not rational. Rational numbers are any number that can be expressed as a ratio A over B, where both A and B are integers and B isn't zero. You should take some time to memorize that definition. It's kind of important. All right, so 6, I got 3 rad 3. For 7, 9's the coefficient, and I'm going to use 9 and 11. The square root of 9 is 3, so I get 27 radical 11. Again, that's an irrational number. So 3, 16, and 2, 3 times 4 radical 2, so 12 radical 2. Last one, 2/5, 25 and 3, 2/5 times 5 radical 3. So for number 9, 2/5 times 5, you end up with 2 radical 3. Hope this helps. Hope all is well. Hope to see you soon. Please remember you can reach out anytime. I will try to get back to you between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Have a great day.